Hello there. On this video, we are going to talk all about catering. What do caterers do? How much should you expect to spend on catering? How do you find and research a caterer? Why is it so expensive? There's different types of dining service styles. What are those? Tastings. What's the deal with tastings? And rentals. Why don't they just come with this stuff? So I am not a caterer, nor do I pretend to be an expert on catering. I can tell you that I did work for a catering company for about 6 months. I tried it out. I wanted to explore a little bit, I wanted to see what it was about. And turns out I don't like being a caterer. I've never served food in my life, believe it or not. But even more so, I love, planning all aspects of the wedding. But it was such great information for me and has really given me so much more insight as a wedding planner. So I know a thing or two about catering. So let's start with, what do caterers do? Well, it's a lot more than just, serving your food. There are full service caterers. There are limited service caterers. And then you've got your just drop off food caterers. Full service caterers will do the food, the beverages, the planning of the menu, the decor in some instances, floor plans, huge, rentals, staffing, event management, service, obviously, setup, and breakdown. They're going to do a lot for you. A caterer is it's so much work. It's so much more than you could ever imagine unless you've been in that world. A limited service catering company is going to be doing the food, obviously, the staffing, the service, some basic rentals, setup and breakdown. And then drop-off caterers, well, they're gonna create a menu with you. They're gonna prep the food. They're gonna package it up. They're gonna drop it off, and they'll probably provide you with some, usually disposable, hopefully compostable, utensils and plates. Okay, so how much should you spend on a caterer? How much of your budget? I don't know. I can't tell you an exact dollar amount because I don't know, anything about your budget personally. I hate talking about budgets in terms of averages, but that's more along the lines of what I can help you with at this moment with this video, without going super in depth with who you are as a couple and what your priorities are and blah, 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 blah. Because just look at my other videos on, budget priorities. And then we'll talk. But overall, your reception portion of your wedding is 50% of your budget. Usually around 50%, half of your budget is going toward that reception. So if you think about what components make up that reception, it's the food and beverage, right? It's the venue itself. It's table and chairs, all those rentals, and that is what I talk about when I say your reception. So of that 50% of your budget, catering, depending on whether it's a full service caterer, because full service again means they're going to bring all the rentals, right? They're going to bring all the plates, all the silverware, all the glassware, all the linens, all the tables, all the chairs, the platters. They're going to bring maybe even other rentals. Maybe you've decided to rent some specialty furniture, right? Because a full service caterer has access to all of that. A full service caterer, of that 50%, right? It's going to be about 40%. So I would say the catering portion of your wedding budget is going to be 30 to 40% of your budget, okay? The rest is going to go to the venue, Usually 6 to 10% goes to the venue. Beverages, full bar, wine and beer only, 5 to 10% is going to go to the bar. Your cake, is usually like on average 2 to 3%, but I see people spend a lot more. It just depends on how important that cake is. But this is not a video about budget, okay? Let's pull it back. Let's get back to catering. Michelle, get back to catering. Okay. How much you spend on a caterer? 30 to 40% of your budget, okay? Obviously depends on your geographic area as well. How to find and research a caterer? Like, where do I find one? Number one, preferred vendor list at your venue. If there is a preferred vendor list at your venue, I want you to go there. I want you to just pick one from there. And typically, the venue will have a few different caterers on there with different range of pricing. Depending on where you're getting married, they might even have a few that do specialty food if that's what you need, like some nod to your cultural backgrounds, kosher. Maybe you are a vegan and having a vegan menu is super important to you, but preferred vendor list of the venue, number one. Michelle, I'm getting married at a house. There's no venue list. There's no list. Okay. How about recommendations? So recommendations from vendors that you're hiring, right? That you've already hired. Maybe you've hired your photographer already. Do you have a wedding planner? You probably don't need this video if you have a wedding planner. But if you have a photographer, ask your photographer. Or as you start calling, even if you haven't hired any vendors yet, start getting in the habit of, like, when you're talking to them, hey, before I let you go, can you just tell me who your favorite caterer is here in Sacramento? Like, who's your favorite caterer? And start getting, because they'd love it. They love to just, oh, sure, right now it's, ABC Catering. Talk to John. He's the best. Other than that, Google search. I like Google search. I don't like Yelp. I'm going to say it. I don't like it. I like it for restaurants. I get it. But when you're looking for more of a service-oriented vendor, I prefer Google. Also, like, Google reviews are right there. And it's just a really great way if you're going to do an online research. And then, of course, those big wedding portals that we all know about online, because if you're planning a wedding, you're already on them. And I'm not going to name any names, but just beware. The most popular ones, the big ones, be wary of, trusting the vendors that are on there. And only because I have advertised on those before once. I tried it 1 year. I'll never do it again. But they do give their vendors tips on how to rank higher, which is great. But, they really kind of lean on you as a vendor and say, just make sure you get reviews. Okay, you got to get lots of reviews written. And so then you see the reviews and you see the stars. I don't know. I don't 100% trust them. So that's just my 2 cents. Why are caterers so expensive? Why is this so expensive? So this is something that I've learned about recently. I mean, I've always known it's expensive because I'm a wedding planner, right? Because I've planned hundreds and hundreds of weddings and worked with hundreds of catering companies. I'm used to it. You're not. And I want to tell you something. Food is cheap. Food is cheap. The food is not the expensive part. The expensive part is the staff, okay? The staff is expensive. Depending on how many guests you have, depending on the type of service of food, the caterer is going to create a proposal for you and guesstimate how many servers you need, how many chefs. There's a head chef, right? How many bussers you need, how many bartenders you need, how many service managers, right? Or banquet captains you need, depending on how many hours your event lasts. They get there hours before, usually like 2 to 3 hours before, to get everything set up. They're prepping in the kitchen. There's the chefs back at their kitchen prepping food before it even gets on the van to go to your wedding, right? And they're cleaning everything up. And then there's the catering manager who you work with all those months leading up to the wedding, who's helping you plan out your menu and discuss logistics. Bottom line is, food is cheap, staff is incredibly expensive, okay? And then there's rentals. So these are the things that a lot of people don't realize. You're going to hire a caterer. You're like, well, of course the dishes are going to come with the food, right? No, they don't come with the food automatically. Those need to be rented. Well, what about dishwashers? There are no dishwashers anymore. We're not at a restaurant. There's not many catering companies that own their own dishes anymore. They just don't. There's too much breakage. There's too much of a mess. It takes too long to wash those dishes, dry those dishes, rack those dishes. So I would venture to guess that probably 80% of caterers are renting from a local company, and they're renting all of the dinner dishes, all of the salad plates, all of the salad forks, the dinner, all of these things that you use, that you eat with, those are rentals. And then they're just scraping off the food, putting them back in the crate, and sending them back to the rental company. Those rentals are expensive. You need literally per guest a couple dishes, several utensils, glasses. So rentals, staff are expensive. There's also the other inventory, right? Like the catering company, if they have 5 different events in one weekend, well, they probably have to rent a van, right? So they're going to charge you for that. They are doing a wedding at a private home instead of a venue, and they have to bring in convection ovens, and they have to bring in a whole bunch of 6 to 8 foot tables so that they have prep space, and they have to bring in clean ice, pounds and pounds and pounds of clean ice. They're going to charge you for that. And then, of course, there is service charge. Service charge, not gratuity, people. That's something that you have to figure out down the line. Service charge. Caterers will charge you anywhere from 15% all the way up to like 25% service charge. That takes care of all the other staff that are working on your event that you will not even think about. Not the people that are showing up at your event, but your catering manager you've been working with, the prep cooks in the kitchen at their home base, the guys who ordered the food, the people who stock everything in the kitchen, and the sous chef, and all of that, the janitorial service, that is being covered in that service charge that you're getting charged for. And then, of course, there's lovely sales tax. That's right, sales tax. Even on catering. I know it's food, but you're going to get taxed. You got to get taxed. And because the catering company gets taxed. So that's what makes it expensive. It's really not the food. And I think what I want to tell you, my biggest piece of advice when you're thinking about your catering budget, don't think about a per person food cost. Don't think that, when I go to a restaurant, if I'm not ordering drinks, my entree's $18.95. I shouldn't be paying more than like $30 a person. Come on, listen, I'll even spend $50 a person. That is a beautiful dinner. Don't think of it that way, because your catering bill is going to consist of food, of service charge, of rentals, of tax, and staffing. So you can't think of a per person cost in terms of what you pay for food at a restaurant. Don't do it. What are the different types of dining service, like how the food is going to be served to my guests at the table. The most popular plated dinner, we all know. Everybody's sitting at a table, this beautiful dish of, petite filet and salmon with some broccolini and maybe some beautiful scalloped potatoes. I don't know, that's a very, whatever, is plated, back in the kitchen, and then the servers bring it out and they set it down at your place setting. That is a plated dinner. Sometimes it consists of several courses, right? You've got your salad course, your main entree, and maybe a dessert course. That's a 3-course plated dinner. And that, by the way, plated is the most expensive type of dinner service and will take the longest out of your timeline. That dinner will last much longer with a plated coursed dinner service. The next dining style, buffet. Everybody loves a buffet. Everybody knows about buffet. And buffet oftentimes is thought of as a way to bring the cost down. It does, obviously, it's less expensive than plated, but don't kid yourself. It doesn't make things that much cheaper. And honestly, buffet can be quite problematic in terms of timing as well, depending on how many guests you have. Because from the time the first table goes through the buffet, it's like an hour until the last table is just beginning to go through the buffet, unless you're working with a supreme top-notch catering company and you've got an incredible budget and you can do several double-sided buffets, and then everybody gets through really fast if a buffet is important to you. My personal favorite, family style. I love a family style service. Specifically, I learned this from the catering company I worked for. They did what's called a hybrid family style, where the first course, your salad course, is actually served plated. So everybody gets their individual plate of salad, because how do you share a salad? I don't know. I think it's weird, personally. I've always thought unless it's like a big old bowl and it's tossed all nicely and you're at your dinner table and you're like passing around the salad. But like a beautiful salad that has the exact amount of goat cheese and nuts and vinaigrette and like a little sprig of this. You want your own salad. But everything else is family style. So you've got these really awesome big platters of like this delicious, braised short ribs, and then, this beautiful pasta, and all of these sides consisting of starches and veggies and proteins, and you're passing it around the table. Not only is it a little easier on your wallet because they don't need as many staff members, right? But it promotes really nice community at the table and conversation. And if you don't want a 2.5-hour dinner, family style is going to go a lot faster. So that's my personal favorite. I love family style. Another new kind of trending service for dinner is what we call reception style. So think about a cocktail reception, right? When you're having your cocktail reception and food is being passed around on platters, little bite-sized food. I have just recently started doing weddings where it is reception style, meaning nobody is having an official sit-down dinner service, but rather food is coming out on a consistent basis. But instead of it being these little bite size, they're on like little what we call B&B plates, bread and butter plates, and they're small portions served with utensils of, some delicious food. Not the most cost effective, but if you're one of those people that just wants to party, like dance, reception style is pretty awesome. It's very popular in New Orleans. It's been going on there for a really long time. Okay, almost done here. Tastings. Everybody thinks about a tasting when they're thinking about hiring a caterer. It makes sense. You want to taste the food. You want to know that the food is good, unless you attended another wedding where this caterer served the food, you love it, go for it. It's up to you. But most people want to do tastings, and most people get very surprised by the fact that tastings are not free. In fact, tastings are very expensive. And you should just know this. It is not free. It is not easy for a caterer to do a private tasting for you. It's not. I mean, you think to yourself, well, they've already got food. They've got dishes. This is what they do. It's not like going to a restaurant, okay? There's a lot of staff involved. So they need to plan the tasting menu. If you are having a summer wedding and you're not hiring the caterer, maybe the time of year you're hiring the caterer is winter and you're doing your tasting in winter, and this is a caterer that specializes in seasonal fresh food, you're not going to be able to taste the same menu that you would have at your wedding in the winter. It's not going to happen. So it's likely that caterer, if you insist on doing a tasting before signing a contract, which I totally get, it's very likely that what you taste will not be the menu that's going to be served at your wedding. It might be a little version of it with some tweaks and differences in terms of seasonality, but it won't be the exact menu. And that's fine, because what you really want to get a feel for is, are they good? Is this food good? The other thing about a tasting is they are prepping the menu for you. They are purchasing the food. There are chefs in the kitchen cooking it and prepping it long before you arrive and while you're seated, because they want it to come out fresh and hot. There is at least one service person, a server or service manager or banquet captain, who is prepping the space prior to your arrival. They might have to do rentals depending on how many people are coming to the tasting. They're probably going to give you complimentary wine. So they're coming out of pocket a lot to do this tasting for you. 9 times out of 10, you'll pay for the tasting. If you decide to hire the caterer, they will take the money that, let's say you paid $500 for the tasting. They will take that $500 and discount it off of your final bill for the wedding. They should do that. But if you don't hire the caterer, they're going to keep that money because they need to pay for everything that they just came out of pocket to do a beautiful tasting on a Wednesday evening for you and your parents. And finally, touching on rentals a little bit more. I don't think a lot of couples realize that when they are going to be researching a caterer, they are very much going to be getting into discussion about rentals. And a caterer is going to ask you, so do you want to do the rentals or do you want us to do the rentals? Some caterers might ask you this. And you're going to be like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? My venue comes with tables and chairs. Like, well, yes. Okay, but let's talk about everything else. Again, we need a dinner plate. We need a salad plate. We need a B&B plate. We need bread baskets because you want that beautiful artisan bread on the table as your guests arrive. We need a salad fork. We need a dinner fork. We need a butter knife. We need a soup spoon. And we are going to need a napkin at each place setting. And we are going to need a red wine glass, a white wine glass, a water glass at each place setting, and tablecloths. And you've chosen family style service, so we need to get matching white platters. The pasta is going to need to go in like a deep round bowl, shallow round bowl, but the chicken should go on a rectangular platter. So, there's so many rentals involved. A caterer will take care of these rentals for you, and they're going to make money off of your rentals. It's no surprise, and it should be no secret, and it's not a dirty secret. Rental companies give catering companies 20% discount. That's pretty standard across the board. And the catering company is going to charge you the normal rate that a rental company would charge you, except the catering company is going to get a 20% discount on those rentals. And you know what? They deserve it, because let me tell you something. Rentals are so time consuming. How do you know how many wine glasses you need to rent. Well, I'm going to have 100 guests. I should only need 100 wine glasses. No. You need 100 wine glasses at the dinner tables, but what about the bar? How many times is your guest going to go back for another glass of wine? What about if you're having a specialty cocktail? Do I need a highball? Do I need a martini glass for that? Like, what kind of glass do I need for that? And how many of those do I need? Are my guests going to have more than one of those? So bottom line is, let your caterer take care of the rentals. Let them make that 20%. They deserve it. Okay, I think that explains more or less the basics. Maybe a little more than basics, but I want you to feel confident when you are ready to go out there and find your caterer and ask the right questions and know what to expect. It's important. So there you go. Please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you have a wedding planning question or any questions about what I've just covered, just drop them in the comments below. And thank you. Happy planning, and I will see you next time.